Okay, this is the third of three videos about the Java 1 midterm. In this case, there is a class called combatant. And this class called combatant has a bunch of information that would be useful to have if you're going to be fighting um, in a fighting game. And it has a bunch of variables: health, level, name, and faction. The faction is unassigned. By default, this is my constructor. This tells me how I build a basic combatant. Health is default 100, name is default, faction is unassigned, and level is 0. I also have a constructor um, that is more specific, where a user could enter values. And I'm going to change this to be more friendly syntax for those who haven't seen the this keyword before. But this just basically says, um, look at the one in the class instead of the one in the header. So this is a way that I'm going to be setting up my basic combatant with values predefined by a user. And then I have things like get health or set health. Again, I can change this to H, and remove the this. Same thing here. And this is just, you don't need to have name setters and getters and things like that. Those can be defined already. This is only if you want to change things, you want the setters. But you do need the getters, the get name and the get health and all that stuff. Gain level, lose level, take damage, heal. So take damage is to reduce your health by whatever is in the parentheses. Heal is to increase your health by whatever is in the parentheses. If you want to punch another combatant, you can say that you're going to deal damage to that combatant, and it just says to deal 10 damage to that player with a punch. For example, you could add a kick thing that's very similar. But I would look at these methods, pause the video, look at these methods, implement them, and see what they do. And this is all in the combatant class, which has no main method. Additionally, I have a toString method which just prints out all the information. So let's see how we use this in a fighting game. Well, first I'll make one combatant. So I'll make a new combatant with just the default constructor, and we'll print out the values. And I print this, and you'll see that it prints out all the default values. If instead I say, let's see, look at the constructor, health, name, faction, and level. 30 for my health. Name would be Phantom. Faction might be Birchbots. And level might be 0 to start out. And now I run this, and it prints out the health, the name, the faction, and not the level. If we go into combatant, you'll notice that level is not a part of the toString method, which is just what automatically prints out if you try to print the object. Now I go back to my fighter game. Let's say I want another combatant. And this one will be maybe 50 health, maybe named Motna, maybe a member of that team, and then level 1. And this might be sort of an interplay between, two robots, for example. So in this case, you might say, well, how do they interact? Well, you could do a menu here. Menu for actions. Take turns. And you could say if, and you could have a scanner up here. And you could say, after you import the scanner, scanner package, we say if input dot next line dot equals ignore case punch, and let's presume we're combatant A. We'd say a dot punch B. And then maybe we can print out some info. So I'll type in punch, press enter, and I'll comment this out. But we see that I start out, Phantom had 30, and now Motnop has 40 because I punched. No longer has 50, he has 40. Another way to do this would be b dot take damage. Is that one? No, it's not it. It would be b dot no, take damage was correct. Oh, it had to take a value. Okay, take damage 10 would do the same thing as a dot punch b. So in that case, you'd say, okay, well, maybe take damage 5 is another thing. If we instead, if we say that, we'll run, and I'll say punch, and then we can see that he dropped to 45 instead of 40. We could do an else if we could just do an else. Maybe I'll heal by 1. So maybe a dot heal 1. And in either case, we'll print here. And you can have some sort of interplay. You can have a loop around this. If I write instead A, you see that instead I healed instead of dealing damage. And instead of putting this right here, you might just say I have some string s equals the input, and s dot equals ignore case punch does that, else if s dot equals ignore case heal, I do this, and you can have a loop around here. So this is my game loop, and I can say if a dot get health is less than or equal to 0, you lose. Else if you win. Okay, so in this case, in either of these cases, you want to break out of the loop or use system.exit0. And this is sort of a basic little game where you're the only one who gets to choose an action, and the other player doesn't get to do anything. If you wanted to have the other person do something, it would be like um, A dot take damage or whatever it happens to be. But you want to make a robust game using this mechanic. So here now I can continue until I hit 0 and I win. And so that's sort of a very simple game using this idea of a lot of predefined methods in one class. So all you have to do is call those methods um, between all your different players to have a game that is more robust without writing a whole ton of code. You can see this isn't that long and there's a decent amount of space between things. If you want to go further, you can always create classes based on your combatant that have extra stuff. But I'll leave that to your own research. Good luck.